Catch the wheel that breaks the butterfly. The next song is Falling Down. And actually the last song is Falling Down because we're now at number 50 on our list of the top 50 greatest Oasis songs that are better than Roll With It. And we finish off with what is an absolutely monumental performance by Oasis and Noel Gallagher's songwriting. It is just one of their best songs, and it's very unlike their other output. Like it's a specific uniqueness to it that they hadn't really broached before, but Noel would sort of carry on in his solo career with the likes of aka What a Life or Black Star Dancing, taking away the power and the overdrive of the guitar and drum and bass and sort of replacing it with a sort of hollowness of like an audible hollowness that's hard to describe because it sounds like it's very empty or very ethereal, but it's not. It's very it is a very texture laden song. Every decision made with the instrumentation it just feels epic, and a lot of the song is driven by the instrumentation, even though the chorus is another epic melody from Noel, and it's Noel singing again. I don't think it's a surprise that the better songs in the last sort of leg of the Oasis career was Noel fronted songs, because I get the impression he was already mentally checked out and was already looking forward to what he would be doing after Oasis. Obviously he walked out in the middle of the tour, so it wasn't planned that he would leave at that exact time, but I can't imagine he wanted to stick around for another 2 years to make more Oasis. I think he wanted to branch out, and this was where he was starting to really demonstrate that. Right from the drums, like it's like the best of Ringo Starr, this drum track, and I don't usually like it when they harken directly back to the Beatles, but Ringo Starr was massively underrated or underappreciated in the Beatles for just how innovative a drummer he was, and this, just by, I'm not sure how they're doing it, but they're taking a lot of the smash out of the drums, so it's really, that's from the Beatles, but like when you mute the snare or whatever it is they're doing, I'm not 100% into drums, so I don't really know what I'm talking about, but whatever they're doing to take the real crash out of the drums, it sort of elevates the overall sound, the guitars, and the really spacey, really deliberate way the guitars are used, and the bass that is quite reminiscent of sort of Kasabian at the time. So Kasabian would have been, I heard it quoted that Kasabian were every Oasis fan's second favourite band. He was also taking inspiration from contemporary sort of rock music, as well as always harkening back to the 60s and 70s. But when he brings them all together along with the sort of synthesized, I don't even want to say orchestra, because it's not even an orchestra, it's not really strings, it's almost post-rock, which is sort of Sigur Rós, Cindy Halda, sort of very ethereal, but again, with the texture of all those other elements, it builds this like monumental auditory experience that is absolutely amazing to listen to. Catch the wheel that breaks the butterfly. The chorus melody is, I don't know how he does this. He just sort of seems to be able to channel, the town crier of the Roman Empire or something. It becomes like, you should be sailing into the Battle of Troy with these songs behind you, because they are just, they're like Olympian, like in terms of the old Grecian gods. Like, and he's been doing it throughout the Oasis catalogue in a way that I can't really think of another person doing it. Like possibly Bono, but I wouldn't even say Bono hits it out of the park as much as Noel does. Noel also cites Chris Martin of Coldplay. Again, they have their moments, but they don't seem to be able to do it as sort of readily as Noel Gallagher has demonstrated over a course of a 12-15 year career in Oasis, that he can do this. He can summons these battle cries of epic proportions, even though nothing is what he's doing is aggressive or or violent or aggressive or threatening in any way. He describes it as sort of God dropping songs down on everyone, and just him and a few others, Bono and Chris Martin specifically, just going out and catching them. If they don't do it, they'll be lost to history. So he just reckons he's ready, because he's always got his guitar in front of the TV, just ready for whenever something inspiration strikes. And like the line itself, "Catch the wheel that breaks the butterfly," is from like a poem from the 1700s by Robert Pope, "The Epistle to Dr. Arbuthnot." So he's not just, he's really going back to the classics of literature as well. I have to admit I've never heard of that poem, but I have heard the phrase "breaking a butterfly on the wheel," which is a reference to a torture device in medieval Britain. When you go down, if you upset the imperial overlords of England, you were brought to the Tower of London and you were put on a wheel which had little spokes. Your legs were sort of tied through it, and the wheel would be turned while you were strapped to a table. So your legs would basically just break into about 10 different pieces. And the line is, "Why would you put a butterfly in such a barbaric device?" If there's some weakling who's not really a threat to the monarchy, why do they need to be put into these devices, which is far too much of overkill. So Noel harkens back to that, "Catch the wheel that breaks the butterfly." It's hard to sort of parse from the lyrics a very specific meaning, but the overall tone of the lyrics, when you see them written down, is very bleak and very suspicious of what's coming next, suspicious of the future, and the notion that these rains, biblical level rains are falling down on all I've ever known. Basically everything he's known is just been destroyed by a deluge of just pressures, I guess. Quite low ratings for this, I would say. Whatever the opposite of recency bias is, whatever the opposite of that is I think what's affecting these ratings, because it's the best song of the album by a mile. That's why it's the only song of the album on the list. I would even go as far as to say it's probably the second best song after Gas Panic on the second half of their career. And I'd be willing to hear arguments that it's the best song the second half of their career. I tried listening through the album again yesterday, and there's not a wild lot to recommend on this particular album. The "Shock of the Lightning," another terrible lead single. The second single off the album, so it's falling down to the second single off the album, didn't even make the top 10. It broke a top 10 streak that I've been going right back to their first album. It's not getting the recognition it deserves. It really would have, if they were doing another tour, they really should break this out along with Gas Panic, along with a few of the other second half songs. But that's it. The top 50 Oasis songs of all time, 50 songs that are better than Roll With It. Obviously took me quite a little bit longer than I anticipated. In the interim from when I started this till when I finished it, we had a global pandemic. No hope of Oasis getting reunited. Oasis announcing they're being reunited. Oasis having a full reunion tour. World War III breaking out on about 3 different fronts. And I got a new flat. Basically what I wanted to prove was how much breadth the Oasis catalogue has in terms of unbelievably good songs, which I don't think very many artists or bands in history can really compete with. I wouldn't even put the Beatles in this because I don't think they have as many. Like the Beatles might be able to get a top 30. U2 couldn't do this. U2 again, top 25, top 30. Elvis maybe, but only because of the sheer amount of stuff he released, that if you had a really diehard Elvis fan, they probably could pick 50 really good songs. But would they, if you did a sort of side-by-side comparison, if you had a bracketed competition where you had Wonderwall versus Suspicious Minds and all the way down, who would, I still think Oasis would win that. Most artists and bands just do not have the longevity or the sort of the amount of output. Madonna might be able to put out a list of 50 songs, just because she's had 50 top 10 hits or something. But yeah, so just to demonstrate that the quality and quantity of Oasis is, huge. But yeah, don't stick around unless you want to see other stuff I'm making, because the top 50 songs have now been chosen, and you have to roll with that.